Okay, today I want to do something a little different. I like to watch a lot of movies and I like to read books. And if the movies that I watch happen to be based off books, after I watch them, I go and I read the books. So one of the movies that I watched and then read the book afterwards was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Today I'm going to be talking about the differences between the movie and the novel. So it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Spoilers ahead. Okay, yeah, so in the movie, instead of things just happening, things were basically, there was a chain of events that started with Zaphod Beeblebrox, signing the order to demolish the earth. After that, there was like this whole chain of the events. Mainly a lot of the cause and effect in the movie was, actions by Zaphod Beeblebrox. Things that he did or things that he was, he was trying to accomplish sort of moved the plot along from place to place. On the other hand, in the book, Zaphod was smarter than he is in the movie. He was still a little stupid. He was still sometimes really stupid. But the other times he was just pretending to be stupid. He wanted to, he didn't want you to know exactly what was going on with him or, wanted to throw you off. But in the movie, he was he was almost functionally incompetent. The improbability drive, you didn't just press a button and it took you places. In the book, you had to figure out the probability or the probabilities of whatever action you were trying to do. What's the probability you'll actually make it? He figured out a lot of those probabilities. He figured out the coordinates of Magrathea. He didn't have to have these coordinates given to him by, what's his name, Kavula? John Malkovich, basically. He didn't have to get these coordinates from John Malkovich. One thing that was in the book was Trillian was, I forget exactly what she was, but she was basically a scientist. The mice that sort of came on board, the Heart of Goat with them, those mice she brought from Earth from her lab. But in the movie, she really annoyed me. And when she, her reasons for choosing Zaphod over Arthur, they're her own. I can't be like, well, you should have chose Arthur, but when they were on the ship and he was like, okay, you're with this dude and he's such an idiot, and her explanation was, but look at this ship. Look at all the cool things it can do. It can, I can toast bread as I cut it, or I can put my head in this little thing and it could, design food to match whatever I'm thinking or desiring. And I'm like, it almost felt like she's saying, look, he has the sports car, shiny. I really hated her character after that scene. I'm like, I can't believe you're sitting here saying this, that this justifies being with the idiot. But anyway, a lot of the movie, a lot of, the things that happen, the dialogue, not just the dialogue, but also the narration, came word for word from the book. So most of the changes were in structure. And there was a couple of setting changes and dialogue that one character said was switched to another. The whole thing where Zaphod had said, oh, he was looking for he was when Zaphod admitted that he was looking for the ultimate question, and Ford asked him why, and he was like, well, I already tried that, why 42, it doesn't match. That was originally said by one of the mice when at the end of the book, when the mice capture them and sits down Arthur and decides, okay, they want to take his brain. They said, like, when he asked them why, and they was like, we already tried that, why 42, it doesn't match, which is probably is one of my favorite lines in a movie. Climax of the book takes place on Magrathea, whereas in the movie it takes place on Earth Mark 2. And after the whole mice try to kill them, because basically what was going on is, he was still being shown around by, the guy who was telling him about how we make planets, that's our job. But the guy was telling them that they were remaking Earth because it exploded before it could finish its program. And then then the mice was like, well, they realized Arthur was on Earth seconds before it exploded, so they figured the answer to the equation, to the answer, the question that matches 42 was inside his brain. So they're like, well, we don't have to finish making the second Earth and start this 10 million year program all over again. We could just take your brain and get the question that way. As they leave, instead of being confronted by the Vogon army and the vice president Questula, whatever her name is, because that whole subplot doesn't exist in the book either. There is no vice president and there's no Vogon army following them everywhere they go. They were confronted by a couple of space cops. All of a sudden, the laser fire sort of just stops, and they go and they see that the space cops are dead, and they don't know how they died. It was like a failure with their spacesuits, which were connected to their ship. They went back to their ship, and the space cop ship was right next to it, and Marvin was sitting outside. Marvin, the paranoid android, and he explained to them that he plugged himself into the space cop ship to start talking to it, and the ship got so depressed that it committed suicide, and when that happened, their spacesuits failed and they died. So Marvin's depression ended up saving them in both the movie and the book. Except, the book, a spaceship committed suicide, whereas in the movie he had a point of view gun, and when he shot it at the Vogon army, he just laid them out flat. In the book, Arthur never makes the choice of whether or not he wanted to stay on Earth or go traveling around the universe, because the mice, basically stopped payment on the check for for building Earth 2, so it was never, they didn't finish it. It was probably like, I don't know, 60 or 70% done, and they didn't reboot it or not, like at the end of the movie, whereas at the end of the movie, he was like, I don't want to be here. I'm, although I have a chance to have my house back and go back and start life, I choose to travel the universe. Which one do I prefer? Fans of the book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, may not like when I say this, but I prefer the movie. I think it's the writer in me. I like cause and effect and character arcs, and the movie has that and the book doesn't. The book is interesting. The book is, entertaining. The book has a lot of the main, most of the action that happens in the book happens in the movie. They've actually added more. Normally you take away things from a book where, the movies added more. Which one do you prefer? The novel or the adaptation? Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe.